everyone. Thank you so much for this wonderful evening. I've been fighting alongside the LGBTQ community since 1980s, but even then we stood on the shoulders of giants. Giants that are called the Brunswick Four. Giants like Adrienne. What?
Well, I've been pretty nervous about this. Chief Myron Demke, Your Worship, Olivia Chow, Mayor of the City of Toronto, my wonderful wife of almost 40 years, Myra White, stand up. And esteemed guests. If you told me 50 years ago that the Toronto Police Service would invite me to speak at a gala to talk about my experience as a member of the Brunswick Four, I would say you had taken some pretty nasty drugs. The police despised us back then, and the feeling was mutual. While gay men were fighting to stop the charges of gross indecency and famously being beaten up by police at Cherry Beach, our cause as lesbian feminists was completely different. Because back in the day, if you were a lesbian with children, your children could be taken away from you by the state, and they were. We were fighting for women's rights and the rights of lesbians. We were fighting for equal pay, for daycare, and for the right to live our lives as we were. So when Pat Murphy, who has passed away, Susan Wells, Lamar Van Dyke, and I went to the Brunswick House on Bloor Street on January 5th, 1974, we did so as an evening out to dinner so that we could discuss the gulf between the gay movement and the lesbian feminist movement. Pat was part of the leadership of the gay movement, and Lamar and I were part of the horizontal leadership in the lesbian feminist movement. I am sure you know the story by now. We were talking in the Brunswick to each other, and a man threw beer on my head. Didn't do anything about it. It was an open mic, karaoke style. We sang, "I Enjoy Being a Dyke." The speakers were immediately turned off, and we were thrown physically off the stage. We shrugged, laughed, and went back to our beer. The students that frequented the pub loved the song, and they started sending us beer. The management asked us to drink up and leave. That occasioned many more glasses arriving at our table, and there was no way in God's green earth that we could have consumed that much beer. Still, we refused to leave. It was a public place after all, and we had done nothing wrong. Suddenly, police appeared. We wondered, why? What's going on? It became apparent when they arrived at our table and told us to get out what was going on. We refused. They carried us, one officer on each arm and each leg, out the side door and threw us into a waiting paddy wagon. A gentleman came up to the back of the wagon and said he was a lawyer with the Attorney General's Department and that we'd been illegally arrested. That was helpful. We arrived at 14 Division after an exceedingly rough ride in a paddy wagon. And we were told to take a seat in the garage while they spoke to their sarge. After 45 minutes, we were told to leave. We said no. We want witnesses to the crime. They physically threw us out of 14 Division and smashed my head against a gas pump. And they told us, do not, whatever you do not go back to the Brunswick Tavern. And that is exactly what we did. We were rearrested outside the Brunswick for allegedly causing a disturbance, and that led to a night of hell at 14 Division Detectives Unit. And we left battered and bruised hours later with our notices to appear. Now, 50 years ago is a long time ago, and these sorts of things do not happen to lesbian and gay people anymore at the hands of the Toronto police without serious consequences. But there is much work to be done. My wife Myra is here tonight, and our daughter Sally is not. She refused to come. She's a 30-year-old lesbian that is afraid of the police. Her generation knows all about what happens to Indigenous Canadians, people of color, people who are homeless, and those who suffer from addiction. And they are clear about the assumptions that are made often and conclusions that are drawn simply because of their identity. An apology is an important first step. Make no mistake. No one can move forward, whether it be an individual or a group, before the perpetrator takes responsibility for their actions. But the real work must take place. Education is the answer. Simple tolerance is not. Being tolerated by a person who is seething with disgust is not an option. In order to have a robust democracy with true freedom for all, we need to be able to express who we are in our daily lives. Sitting down on a sidewalk with a homeless person, talking to folks with substance disorders, and supporting harm reduction is a critical first step for a person with a dream of a warm bed and a life worth living. It takes kindness. It takes kindness. Rage and disgust have no role to play. There is so much work to do, and we must all work extremely hard, all of us. Many people are fragile, and the street is not friendly. Guns and gangs exist and must be rooted out, but not every person of color is a gangbanger. Staff members at my corporation are routinely stopped for driving while black. These misguided perceptions must change. We're all the same, but we have different starting places. Now, I know you didn't sign up to get called out and have your life put in danger, but we all have to learn that hate and violence, whether in war or in communities, is not the way to solve violence. Programs such as the TPS programs that address diversity and inclusion are major steps in the right direction. Education is the answer. Real freedom and having a real life is dependent on all of you here today. Your behavior, your sensibility, your own dreams of living a good life are a dialectic with your behavior within the greater community. So let us make a revolution right now, and a resolution, that steps are taken to eliminate the othering of all people. None of us are others. We are all of us are human beings created in a divine image. No one is better than anyone. Some people have more opportunities, but they are not better. Let's build together a robust democracy that is crafted with solutions and opportunities for all of us. and it starts with those who hold power on the streets. I applaud you, brave folks, who are forging new paths. I applaud you, brave folks, for putting yourselves out there and walking the walk. Change can happen, but it can only happen if each of us is committed to a life of equity, honesty, and most of all, remembering to be kind, even when you don't feel like it. I thank you on behalf of the Brunswick Four, Lamar Van Dyke, Patricia Murphy, and Susan Wells, for hearing us. History does move at a snail's pace, but we learn from our history and have a tremendous opportunity to make our city and our world a better place. I salute specifically the chief. The chief of this force is on fire with change. He is a real change maker. I had occasion to meet with him last week for about an hour, and I was really moved by his words. He's the real deal. We salute you for taking these first steps and pledge to walk with you to create a better future for all people. Thank you.
To the stage, please.
By sharing your experience, you've certainly reminded us of how difficult things have been for the 2S LGBTQ+ communities. Thank you. Thank you for bravely sharing your story and being vulnerable with all of us. Thank you for making time to meet with me last month and trusting me with your story. Thank you for accepting my sincere apologies for everything that happened to you during those interactions with police. So as you heard last month, I had the pleasure of meeting with Adrienne, and I can tell you that this meeting had a profound impact on me. This evening, I'd like to share what I learned about this incredible human being during the meeting and what I learned immediately after the meeting. Adrienne shared her concern for people in our communities, including racialized people who have had interactions with the police that have been traumatic, and in some cases, led to intergenerational trauma. Adrienne also reminded me that while we are unique and different, we share a common humanity and have more similarities than differences. During our meeting, I had a chance to look Adrienne in the eye and apologize to her on behalf of the Toronto Police Service. And here you are today, being honored by police officers from across Ontario, actually across Canada, who love and admire you. And I truly am honored to be on the long list of people who appreciate everything that you have done. And you have consistently chosen to be extremely generous with your financial support and serving with pride. How amazing is that? So on behalf of everyone here, I want to say thank you. Thank you for everything that you have done over the past 50 years. Thank you for speaking today, and thank you for being such a kind and compassionate human being. I admire how you have chosen to respond to trauma you have experienced over 50 years ago. At that time, you did what the community needed. And today, 50 years later, you continue to do what is best for the community. I truly admire your perseverance, resilience, and selflessness. In policing, we are blessed to have thousands of members, sworn in civilian, who come to work every day to put service before self. You, Adrienne, epitomize service before self. I'm honored to have the pleasure of knowing you and look forward to working with you in the future. For these reasons and so many more, it really is my distinct honor as the Chief of Police to make you, this evening, an honorary detective of the Toronto Police Service.
We're going to be a much safer place now.
Thank you so very much. Truly appreciate it.
This is the chief's scariest moment because he's getting. And I enjoy being a Dyke teacher.
With that, I guess I have to be on my best behavior because we have a detective here right now. A little law and order here. So right now, I'd like to invite to the stage Serving with Pride board member Gloria Yu from the OPP. Gloria.
True definition of a hero and a trailblazer is somebody who bravely and selflessly steps forward to do the right thing when it's the hardest thing to do, to live through what you've done and to continue to advocate for us so that someone like me, someone like everybody in this room, my fiance, that I can be proud of who I am and serve with pride. Because of you, thank you for your selflessness and thank you for being here tonight.